So Redis supports a bunch of approximate data structures, and one of them is Hyperloglog. So what are Hyperloglog? Hyperloglog is an advanced data structure which is probabilistic in nature, and it does an estimation of cardinality. To put it simply, let's say you are given a very large stream of elements, and what you want to do is you want to find the number of unique elements within that. Right? This is a very common use case for most of the in-memory database. Right? So what Redis does is Redis uses Hyperloglog to power that, and you can use that thing through command called pf something. So pf add, pf merge are the two common utilities that you can use, and basically pf count. So pf add adds an element to Hyperloglog, pf merge merges to, while pf count counts the cardinality of it. Right? So let's say if I'm given a stream of numbers 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, right? And now if I want to know the cardinality, I can just put all the elements in the set and I can just count the length of the set. Isn't it? Pretty simple. So then why Redis has to use Hyperloglog? Because this is not at all memory efficient. Imagine the amount of data that you are ingesting, although duplicate, but you would want to at the end keep all of the unique elements at least in the set, doesn't it? So if you want to keep that, that is memory bound. That would take up a lot of memory, and the only operation that you are doing is just count on it. You're not even doing anything else. So given this, can you make it better? Because where all you are interested in is the cardinality of it, right? So then, which is where instead of going for an absolute correctness, what if I could approximate the answer? If I can approximate, let's say there are 4 unique elements, and even if I say 5, there is no harm in that. Given that is a use case, you can go for an approximate data structure that would save you a ton of memory while giving you pretty near accurate result, right? So which is where we take a look at Flajolet-Martin algorithm. So Flajolet-Martin is very similar to Bloom filter, which means it's just a huge chunk of memory, a filter if we may call it, and we would keep hashing and storing data within that, and it's an approximate in nature. So it's very similar to Bloom filter. We use the similar concept, hash, byte array for quick computation, very similar. And storage required, this is the best part. So here the storage required for you to store, or rather to do this cardinality estimation, is order log m, where m are the number of unique elements. So if you have unique elements to be 1 million, it would be log m, log 1 million to the base 2. It's that tiny of a space you would require to count that, to do this estimation. So how does it work? The idea is pretty fascinating. Now look at this pattern. Look at this pattern when, let's say, for a uniform distribution of numbers, starting from 0 to 7, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if I write binary representation of it, we get 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, so on and so forth till 1, 1, 1. Now let's say I keep a track of row. Row will be the position of the rightmost set bit. So in 0, 0, 0, the rightmost set bit is not applicable. 0, 0, 1, the rightmost set bit is at position 0. In 0, 1, 0, the rightmost set bit is 0, 1 at position 1. 0, 1, 1 is rightmost set bit is at 0. 1, 0, 0, the rightmost set bit is as 2, and so on and so forth. Right? Now, if I want to compute in this scale, in this range, if I want to compute what is the probability of me getting a rightmost set bit 0. The probability is number of cases out of which how many are at 0th position. So it's 4 by 8 is equal to 1 by 2. What is the probability that I'll get row equal to 1? It would be 1, 2, 2 by 8 equal to 1 by 4. And then probability where I get 2, it's 1 by 8. Right? Okay. So we can generalize this. We can generalize this that for any number of such sequence, any large of this sequence, my probability of finding rightmost set bit to kth position will be equal to, it will be equal to 1 upon 2 raised to power k plus 1. That's what here it's all about. 1 upon 2 raised to power rho plus 1. If rho equal to 0 is what we are going for. So it's k. So 1 upon 2 raised to power k plus 1. Right? So that's what we are going over here. Right? So if we do this, Here what you can in order to visualize this, you can look at this, that my probability at LSB, like me finding the rightmost bit set at the least significant bit here is equal to half. That's what we saw. At each step, it reduces by half again. So 1 by 2, 1 by 4, 1 by 8 and so on and so forth. If I have 32 bits, it would be 1 upon 2 raised to power 32. So 2 raised to power 1 till 2 raised to power 32. Right? So I can have as big of a filter as I want. But I would be able to put that, and all I'm keeping track of is the rightmost set bit. Right? So which is what we are doing. So here the probability, so given the stream of elements that I'm getting, if I do something with the rightmost set bit, this is the expected probability distribution that I would be seeing. Half, 1 by 4, 1 by 8, 1 by 16, 1 by 32, 1 by 64, 1 by 128, so on and so forth, till the length that you have. Right? So now what do you do? So here the idea is, for all the incoming elements that you are getting, you pass it through the hash function, some hash function, right? That kind of splits it into a uniform distribution, kind of a hash. You use a hash function, you hash the value out, the incoming value. It is an integer, right? This value that you would now get will be an integer, and the distribution is uniform, which you'll get. That's what the job of the hash function is. So you'll pick something like murmur hash or a multiplicative hash function, something like that. And then you record the rightmost set bit of it. That's your job. So given that you get a hash value out of it, you find the rightmost set bit of it. Once you find the rightmost set bit of it, in the filter that you have, set that corresponding bit to 1. So for example, if I put in apple, let's say apple got hashed at 7, right? So 7 is the number, is the integer value that it got hashed to. Now 7 is represented as 111. The rightmost set bit is 0, right? Because it's at the 0th position. So I'll mark the 0th position as 1. Then banana. Banana hashes to 4. 4 is represented as 100. So my rightmost set bit is set to 2 because 4 is 0, 1, 2. So here I'm setting it at 2. Let's say I got banana again. It would again hash at 4 because hash function for the same input will get the same output. 100 position is 2. It would be setting it over here, and all other fields are 0. Right? So now given this as the information, given this filter, what can you say about the number of unique elements that you would have? Right? So here if you look at this, if you look at the probability of, like a simple probability, if you take a look at it, given that our distribution is random, because for any given input we are passing it to the hash function would be near uniformly distributing it. So for a uniform distribution, we know that the probability of we getting the rightmost set bit at LSB at bit 0 is half, then it's 0.25, it's 0.125 and so on and so forth. Which means that at certain stage, it would become 0. Like when it becomes 0, that would be the place where you would be having those many, like 2 raised to that bit number of elements. I'll say, why this thing? Why it's 2 raised to b only? The idea is pretty simple. If there were, let's say, you have filled in, if I take this example itself, if let's say this, I start from this probability, half, 1 by 4, 1 by 8, 1 by 6 and so on and so forth. When it hits 0 at a certain state, where I have not seen any rightmost set bit at that location, right? What this helps us deduce? This helps us deduce the fact that there would not be more than these number of elements, because, and anyway, we are doing approximate, we are not accurate in the answer, but we are approximating with a very less space. So if there were more than m unique elements, then the bit b would have been set, right? Because if we are finding that bit b where the rightmost bit, where the bit is set to 0 in my filter, it implies that if I had more than m elements, then that bit would have been set and I would be going to the next bit after that, right? That's the idea, or rather that's the reason behind it, that for the first rightmost unset bit that I find is the best approximation of the cardinality of the elements that you are looking at. Because your distribution is there. Once you hit 0, which means you are not seen any more number, right? So if you look at this, because you are going by the probability, half, 1 by 4, 1 by 8, 1 by 6, so on and so forth, the number of elements that you would have seen would be 2 raised to power this bit. That's the best estimation over here, right? So now if you plot this thing, so and let's say if this is your true unique counts, then if you use Flajolet-Martin, it would vary. And obviously it's not approximate, but it closely follows the curve unknowingly, because at scale probability works, right? Estimation works. This is what we see when we use this in practice. At a very fractional amount of space, we are able to approximate the cardinality of my incoming stream of numbers. So that's what, and that's how, and this is the foundation of Redis's Hyperloglog. This is what it uses to implement it, or rather to add support for Hyperloglog. So this is a very crude optimizer, like this is a very crude implementation. Obviously, a lot of things have changed. Some optimizations that I could think, or some optimizations that there were published in the papers, were that obviously there is an error rate. We can see this fluctuating very much, and it can or not always be a power of 2. So there has to be an approximation to that. So to do that error, to account for that error, we don't just say it's 2 raised to power b. We said it's 2 raised to power b divided by 0.77351. It has a huge theoretical proof. You can find it in the original research paper, in the Morris's research paper. But, sorry, not Morris's, but basically Flajolet-Martin's research paper. I'll link it in the description down below. And it's one of the things that it does to approximate. Other thing is, instead of using just one hash function, use multiple hash functions and they take average of the estimations. And third is, instead of taking average, which is susceptible to large values, you can just take mean of it, right? The mean value of, let's say you use 3 hash functions, take the mean of it. That is what could be your estimation for that, right? But this is the idea behind Hyperloglog. This is how it works. This is such a beautiful piece of algorithm. Like it somehow connects like your probability with your set cardinality, two seemingly unrealistic, unrelated concepts coming together so beautifully well. And what Redis does is, we'll not go into Redis, it's highly complex. But what it does is, it has 2 implementations, dense and sparse. The algorithm still remains the same, right? But depending on how it stores, there are a lot of nitty-gritties into that. But understanding the core idea behind Hyperloglog is very essential, which is what I've covered over here. You can feel free to skim through the source code of Redis. It's there in the file called hyperloglog.c. You can find it there, right? And obviously, where does it store Hyperloglog? Because it's just a random set of bits. It can store it in the raw encoding, right? Which is what the beauty is. That's why raw encodings are so important. You can put in any kind of byte filter within that. It's just a bunch of bytes for your system to process, right? So this is how Redis does that. Again, you can check the source code at hyperloglog.c file. I'll link the Redis source code you anyway would have downloaded up until now. It's there in the hyperloglog.c file to see the actual implementation. But the algorithm of doing Hyperloglog is exactly this, right? I'll put a couple of links for you to understand this in depth in the description down below. So I hope you found it interesting and amusing. That is what I wanted to cover this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, Hatan.